You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today, continuing on with my draft preview series, I am focusing on the Detroit Lions, a team that boasts a wealth of selections in this year's draft, most notably 4 picks within the first 2 rounds. You're looking at picks number 6, 18, 48, and 55 for the Detroit Lions. So a lot of potential with what they can do. And to be honest, that's some pretty crazy stuff considering just how well the Lions did last year. They were fighting for a playoff spot all the way to the very end. So to have those selections and be able to really kind of roll the dice and see just what kind of talent you can get out of this year's draft to follow up a really good season, I like the Lions going into this draft, and I have a couple of bold selections for them. So my Lions fans, comment down below. Let me know, what do you want to see with the Lions in this year's draft class? How do you want to see them use their capital? Any trades, maybe, or big moves to maybe potentially move higher so you can select 2 premier pieces? I would love to hear all your thoughts, so make sure you fire away in that comment section down below. So the way I'm going to do this one here, as I'm going to be doing with all my draft previews, I'm focusing on a couple of guys that I would like to see each team go after. And for the Lions, since they have 2 first-round selections, I thought it would be fun to talk about who I would like to see them go after. 2 guys that should be impact players from day one as soon as they're brought onto the team. And we'll start with that first selection they have, pick number 18. Now, my thought process on this one here with the guy that I have selected for this pick is that you're probably not going to be able to nab him at 18. So you're probably going to have to move up a couple of spots to get this guy. And realistically, I think it might be a wise decision to do so. This is a team that needs a lot of help in terms of pass defense, whether it's on the defensive front or in the secondary. Obviously, making some moves and some noise during free agency, trying to help fortify. But I think you can go a little bit further here. And I would like to see the Lions go after a corner with this selection here. So with that in mind, the person I have selected for the Lions here, and again, someone you're probably going to have to trade up for because it sounds like at the latest he's getting picked within like the top 15, and I've even seen some people say he won't go any further than like pick 10. I want to see them go after cornerback Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. His production in 2022 was off the charts. Couple that with the fact that he has excellent athleticism. He's tall, he's long, 6'1", 197 pounds, 4.4 40-yard dash. He's got a 41.5-inch vertical. He matches up really well with all the types of receivers you can see in the NFL. Now, there are some knocks to his game, obviously. He does need a little bit of work with his technique from what I've read. That seems to be a constant thing that scouts are coming up with. He's a guy that kind of relies a little bit too much on his athleticism to bail him out in certain situations, but that's something you can work on with a guy. It's one thing where if you have somebody who's really good at technique, but not quite the athlete and does not match up well with some of those elite receivers you can potentially see in the NFL, but it's another where he needs polishing in his technique and he has all that freak athleticism you want to see in excellent size. So again, this is a guy who's probably going to go within the top 10 to top 15. I'm assuming you maybe need to you probably move like one of those second round selections along with your pick at number 18 to push yourself up a little bit higher in the draft to net him here. And while there are some other reasonable cornerbacks to take, I just like how young he is. He'll be 21 going into the season. It gives you, let's say you draft him in the first round, a 4 to 5 year window, depending on if you pick up that 5th year option. By the time he's going to re-sign, he's only going to be at the oldest 26 years old going into that next season. And that means that you're looking at a corner where if things work out and he ends up being a legit guy, again, awesome athleticism, just needs that technique to be kind of put together. You're looking at somebody who could be around on your team for like 10 years or so. That's, again, on the really positive side. Obviously, first round busts happen, but we're thinking positive here. You're looking at like a potential 10-year starter in a spot that you can never have too much depth at within cornerback in the NFL, especially with the way today's passing game is. I love this selection for the Lions. I really like everything that they've done in free agency to help fortify the group. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is excellent there. Couple that with Emmanuel Mosley, yes, Emmanuel Mosley that they brought in from the 49ers coming off of an injury. You don't necessarily know how ready to go he's going to be, but he's somebody who looked really good going into last season in the early portion before he went down and missed the rest of the season. So you have some good pieces already. Let's add another one. And I think that Christian Gonzalez could be a legit starting cornerback as long as they can mold him and shape him into what he needs to be and be ready to go for week 1 of the NFL season. But overall, again, you're moving selections for him. I say that you probably have to get to like probably pick number 12 to 11 to 10, like 10 to 12, somewhere around there is probably where you're going to have to be if you want to select him. And with the amount of picks that the Lions have and where they're picking as well, being so early in both those rounds, 1 and 2, this is a realistic option for the Lions. And I really like Christian Gonzalez going there. Now, as for the other first-round selection here, at pick number 6, what do the Lions do here? It sounds like there is a legit potential to see 3 quarterbacks taken within the top 5 selections, and maybe even 4 if another team gets antsy and jumps up. Do I really think that's going to be how things play out? Probably not. We're going to probably see at least 2 QBs, and if the Colts are happy with whoever's left over, maybe you get to see a third one there. But at least 2, which means you're looking at 3 other selections before you're actually picking. That could be any number of players. And when I look at the people that are on the board and the fact that the Raiders have already called out and said that they're not going to be taking Jalen Carter, he's off the board, things kind of open up for you. I really like them taking Jalen Carter. The interior of the defensive line for the Lions, not necessarily the most impressive group by any means. However, you obviously started out building out that defensive line last year with the addition of Aiden Hutchinson, the 2nd overall pick. Now you're looking at the potential of bringing in a 6'3", 314-pound SEC phenom in Jalen Carter. This is one that makes total sense to me. Go all in on the big man, fortify the interior. Now, there are a couple of things you have to worry about with Jalen Carter. The obvious concern, be it the behavior thing and, fleeing the scene from the accident that left a teammate and coach of his dead. But aside from that, if that's something that if you interview with him and you feel comfortable with that whole situation, you're only really looking at like nitpicky cons to his game, be it like playing a little too upright at times and allowing offensive linemen to get underneath him, or maybe he's a little bit thinner in the lower body than you may like. Those are just a couple of things that I picked out from some scouting reports that I looked at here. And I mean, you can obviously get a little bit bigger, especially being a young guy, 22 when the season starts. Over the next few years, he'll certainly lean himself out and get that real man strength by the time he's 24, 25, 26. You can work in the weight room. You can fix technique things like being a little too upright. You can teach him to play a little bit lower to handle the offensive lineman he's going against. I mean, you bring in Jalen Carter at 22 years old. You also have Aiden Hutchinson, who's only going into his 2nd year. You're talking about 2 legitimate, these are pillars to your defensive front that you could have for the next, hopefully, if all pans out, 10 plus years, along with like Christian Gonzalez, as I was mentioning earlier, in your secondary. This would be an excellent way to truly commit to your defensive front and help out that secondary that struggled so much last season against passing defenses, against the passing game altogether. I really like Jalen Carter here. Now, again, the concerns with what happened the night that his teammate and the coach died in that accident, and if he was racing with them, or it sounds like he was, that's probably the biggest hurdle you're dealing with here. But in terms of just his versatility, he can line up at the 1, the 3, or the 5 technique. I mean, whatever you need him to do. He possesses unbelievable strength for somebody his age. On top of that, he's very quick and agile for his size. How can you not say yes to this guy if he falls to you at number 6 and you can look past behavior concerns? How can you not take Jalen Carter here? There's obviously potential that you could maybe land Will Anderson. That would maybe be the only other guy that I would be fine with the Lions going after if they're not taking Jalen Carter and he's there at number 6. That's the only other exception I could probably make. But I'm talking get a legit guy in your secondary with that 18th pick, be it trading up or if by some chance he falls to you at 18, but I don't think that's realistic. And then double down on defense again. Your offense was unbelievable last year. Don't worry about offense. You have the pieces, and, maybe Jared Goff works well in this system, and he can keep working well in that system with how talented some of the skill players are over there and just how good the offensive line is in Detroit. Don't worry about the offensive side of the ball. Double down on defense, get a corner, get a guy on the D-line. Jalen Carter and Christian Gonzalez, I think, would both be fantastic additions to a unit that struggled last year. But Lions fans, let me know. What are you thinking about the Detroit Lions in this year's draft class? What do you want to see from them? Again, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Fire away in that comment section down below. Let me know how you're feeling. But that is it for me. I appreciate you from watching. I will see you all next time. Have a good one.